To my Instagram live show called The Third Phase. I am so glad you're here. I'm Lori Carpenter, an interior designer and founder of The Third Phase, and I go live every Tuesday at 12:30 right here, where I go into deep conversations with inspiring guests about things that matter most to us in this season of our life. It's home, health, and wealth. And I want to thank our sponsor today, Life Valet. Life is filled with many possibilities, and your home should too. Life Valet feels that your home should reflect you and grow with you by offering safety, style, and freedom at every phase of your life. And that's why they invented these incredible, stunning grab bars for your home, your bathroom, and your shower. They are stunning to say the least, but they do have three wonderful finishes that will fit into any aesthetic: matte black, chrome, polished chrome, and brushed nickel. Tile ready inlay for your personal design for your shower, and straight or angled configurations that fit seamlessly into your space, and there's more options coming. So if you think you might be interested in this wonderful design that I wished I had known even sooner, but they've not been on the market long, but you need to check out their website. It's called lifevalet.com to find out more styles and everything that's available there. And if you're 60 plus, you may be like me, dealing with many aspects of this thing called life. You may be dealing with aging parents, a busy home. You want to look beautiful to entertain family and friends. You may still have children, or you're helping with the grandchildren, all while juggling a full-time career. It's challenging to say the least. But let me tell you, together we can navigate this. And we can do it with style, purpose, and joy. So grab your lunch and grab a friend and let's dive in. I've got an exciting guest with us today that I think you're going to find very interesting. Yeah, I did. But as we're, like all of us, we're all learning. Today I have Jill Kearney with us. Jill Kearney is an expert in moving seniors. Her business is called Specialty Moves by Design, and she's founder and CEO of a Pennsylvania-based company, and she's been in business, I believe, about 16 years and has about 33 team members that handle every aspect of moving seniors into another house, assisted living, locally, or even across country. I wished I'd known about this during my move. As y'all all know, I moved my mother into senior living, and I still have a lot of her things that I'm trying to find homes for. So it's difficult and it's hard. But Jill can help us with that. And she's going to be sharing with us some innovative solutions for liquidating households. And if you're facing this task, this will be very interesting with you. And when Jill's not moving people, Jill enjoys a second home in the countryside of Ireland. How nice is that? Painting and being with her family. So let me get Jill on here, and let's get this conversation going. While Jill's getting on, I'm going to have a sip of water here. I don't know what part of the country you're in, but here in Arkansas, we've had some really warm weather coming up with the 4th. And just pop-up showers, it's been something else. see if Jill is ready to get on. I see Leslie is on here and Lady Piper, the Westies has joined. Shushi has joined. Thank you all for being here. I really appreciate it. And as I told you, my guest is Jill Kearney with Specialty Moves by Design, helping seniors move. So let's see if Jill can join us. I hope we're not having technical difficulties. That has happened. Jill, are you there? Jill, are you with us? Leslie tells us that you are here now. We need to get you up here. Maybe third time's a charm here. For some reason, Jill is unable to join. Let's keep trying here for just a minute because I have so many questions for Jill about this move because I had so much trouble with my mother getting her moved. And if you've done that, move a whole household, into assisted living, you're going from maybe a 3-bedroom house to a 1-bedroom. And that is very difficult. So I'm very anxious for Jill to share some of her information with us. There she is. Yay!
Thank you for waiting.
No problem. Sometimes, we love the internet and we love everything, but sometimes there's difficulties. So
It's
we're
true.
so glad you're here because I know you have so many wonderful things to share with us, Jill. What you do is amazing. How did you get started in this?
Oh my goodness. So it was, here, let me just get this set up a little bit better here
Yeah.
so I can see you better. I didn't realize it was looking so dark here in this shot here.
Yeah, it's hard to tell.
So, how did I get started? So, my mom had always hired amazing interior designers and had great taste, and I loved decorating. And so, at some point when I got out of corporate and had my little girls, I started doing a little business where I was painting wall murals, and then I started helping friends that were moving. And it was sort of before staging was really a big thing, but that's what basically we were doing. And I got certified as a redesigner and stager. And soon after that, it was pretty successful. But soon after that, the market crashed. That was back in 2009. And so nobody was spending money staging homes. They were ripping the copper out on the way out the door because they were underwater. And I had was also a stager who said, get in, move. And I said, listen, I didn't even grow up with grandparents. And we've moved to a place where I'm an older mom. So I'm hanging out
Mhm.
with people. But I did belong to a big church, and there were a lot of seniors in that church that were just amazing, amazing people and had amazing lives. And I was always involved with the youth group, and they loved anything that the kids did. And so they knew who I was, and somebody asked if I would help this 88-year young woman who did not look anywhere near 88 on this move to a senior living community. And so I went over to measure so we could do some floor planning. And
Mhm.
while I found group of teachers who had been moving seniors in for 5 years had just retired from this second career. And they said, if you can move in, then you've got a job. And that is literally how it started. Crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. And, but I loved moving, which is kind of an oxymoron. Most people don't, and
I do
uh,
not.
my mom did too. And so we always did it together, whether my parents were moving or I did. I did a number of corporate moves and then a couple moves when my family was young. And so my mom had the best process, you know,
Yeah.
and everything and everything in its place. And I did. And so I didn't inherit that gene. I always say that, but I learned a lot from her. And I realized that soon that psychologists would say of the 10 worst things that can happen to you in your life, number one is death of a spouse, and number two is moving. And everybody hates it. And so I made it my mission to create what we call the joyful move process.
Joyful
And
move. I love that.
yeah, and so I decided, you know what, it just kind of became a little bit of a ministry to me. So that's how.
Wow. Wow. Well, share with us how you grew your company.
So you can imagine if it's, I was doing staging and moving because at that time, a lot of folks still needed to have their houses staged in order to sell them because houses were not selling, kind of the opposite of where we are today for most parts of the country. And so me buy. And so I would find girlfriends at church or friends. You come rearrange things, or can you help me paint some walls or whatever?
Okay.
And it started to grow. Communities, we started to meet more communities who thought this was a great idea as well. And they ended up saying, look, you know what, we'll refer all of our people to you if you're willing to do this. And I all of a sudden thought, okay, this is not going to work with just a few friends. And so that's when it really got into this whole idea of I need to start looking for, for employees. My still works with us. Um, told me at one point he was a former human resources manager, and he has said, "Listen, you do not want to start hiring people." Because he had been in corporate where HR was not really just the company picnic. It was, wherever there was issues with employees. And he said, work is fun until you hire people. It's not. Okay, sound good. But you know what? We've proven it wrong. That if you've got the right team of people
Mhm.
who have the same passion, who have the same commitment to giving people the joyful move, or what we call loving them through the process, people are dreading. If you just got good people that are just trainable, what we do is rocket science, but it is a million different need to go right.
Yeah.
And so that we needed people, the right people seemed to show up. And then later on, my daughter joined me. She's our chief operating officer now, running the company most of the time.
Oh,
So I
that's
can,
wonderful.
instead of doing all the day to day, which she does. But she then got really good at hiring, and so I found too that, but growing. You start to realize that there's all these departments that a big company would have, and so I got to the point where I realized I had to start running, and having been in corporate health, uh, uh, didn't always make.
Where's look? You're cutting out. Let's see if we can get you your voice. I am not hearing you at all.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now. I see your
You know
proud
what?
daughter's joined too. So, hey, proud
Yeah,
daughter.
she
Oh,
is probably on, and I have my phone sitting in a stand, so it might have been blocking the microphone.
Oh, okay. Because I could hear you for a minute, and then it cut out completely. So,
Oh goodness.
yeah.
Do I need to start over? I think at what time, what we just say is that as we started picking up senior communities that would refer people to us, we knew we needed more staff. And so we continue to hire. As we had grown the company, then I knew from being in corporate, all these different departments that you needed to have in a company. And so part of this was also developing our staff, figuring out
Yes.
who's got skills and who already knows the business and can jump in and maybe do something with accounting or bookkeeping or invoicing clients, and who
Right.
else is good at doing floor plan design, and who else is really good at sorting and purging. Not everybody is good at all those things. And
Right.
so I have enjoyed mentoring people, and finding where
Wow.
the skills are so that
Yeah.
we can continue to keep people and continuing to help them grow as they stay with us.
Okay. What is your expertise in your business? I see. I hear you finding everybody else's strengths and everything. So tell me what is the expertise of your business?
So for me personally, I think, or for the company.
Uh, Both. Let's go with both for you and the
Okay,
company.
so I think my expertise personally has always been, I like order and processes, but I'm also really creative. So I'm one of those unusual left brain, right brain balance people.
That's
That's a little bit
great.
weird.
Even better.
Yeah, so I did like the numbers. I did like the business part of it. I did have a business degree, although I wanted to be an artist, and my dad said I was too smart to be a starving artist. So I got my business degree and worked in corporate communications and marketing. So I love helping people discover what issues are and in processes and trying to figure out how to overcome those
Mm-hmm.
so that they are not overwhelmed. I love design. As a stager, you have to design fast. There's not time to, spend weeks on design. You have to be able to look at it and figure it out and redo it. You have to be able to do it creatively without spending a lot of money. And so being able to think on your feet is good. And all those aspects have really helped in the senior and specialty moves business. And the hardest part about this business is that nobody knows about it. And it's only been around for about 25 years. And, all I do is talk about it. And it's still
Yeah.
frustrating when so many people go, wow, I've just never even heard of this. But the industry has been around for about 25 years. NASM, NASMM, is the National Association. I've been on the board twice. I've spoken at the conferences. I teach peers of ours. Lindsay and I, my daughter, are actually teaching the course this year at the conference in Dallas about building a team and how you grow and nurture your team. So I'm really excited to have her beside me this time doing
Great.
that. But so as a company, we're good at helping people figure out. There's usually four things that people are concerned about when they're going to make a move.
Uh-huh.
The first one is, what can I keep? Because in general, up until this move, if we're looking at people that are in or nearing retirement, in general, if you were going to move, you probably went to a bigger home. You got a bigger job, or you added children, or something else, and so you kept going bigger. As long as you're going bigger, you can hire a bunch of movers. They can come through and plow through your house, put everything in boxes, take it off, drop it off, and put 40 boxes that say kitchen miscellaneous, which happened to me when I had a 2-year-old. And they walk away, and then you spend the next weeks or months unpacking, or sometimes never, right? Because things didn't fit. And so if it doesn't fit, it goes in the basement if you're up in the north, or in the garage, or in the attic. And you keep doing that until you hit this point. And at this point, it's probably the first time we're going smaller. And so that model does not work anymore. This industry was created for boomers who had upsized and upsized, and all of a sudden now had to move, and they had to downsize, sometimes by as much as 60 or 70%, maybe more.
Maybe
And so,
more. Yes.
yeah, yeah. So it came up with this whole idea of I always loved Marie Kondo. She always talked about, pick up everything and decide, does this bring me joy, and all
Uh-huh.
this and stuff. But I say that I think Marie Kondo's method, and I can't critique her because she's made hundreds of millions more than I ever will. But I think it works better for younger people that haven't accumulated a lot of things, because I tell some of our older adults, now that I'm in the same age bracket, I can say, listen, for those of us in this bracket, we've got things we need to do and places we want to go. We're going to die before we touch everything in our houses. So how about we just chop and cut to the chase? And so my philosophy is you do treasure hunting. You know, you go through your house and treasure hunt. And if you go and look in a room and you go, there is nothing in that room that is mine, that's important to me, you close the door and you write done. And that's it. You don't go back in. You aren't going back to sort. And people, you can see some folks will gasp in my classes, like, oh, how could I actually just close it and say done? But if the point is, I'll tell them, go through with Post-it notes, go every room, take 15, 20 minutes. That's it. Go through your house and put a Post-it note on everything that you love, that if you were going to move in the next 2 weeks, what things would you like to go with you? And don't worry about whether it's going to fit or not. People have been shocked and amazed at how few Post-it notes they use. And so instead of taking 2 years to go through the basement and garage to see how much they don't like stuff, because what are the four categories? They say if you're going to sort something, it's what are you going to keep, sell, donate, or trash, right? So keep is easy. That's your treasures. Sell, donate, and trash is just variations of what I don't want.
Right.
Right? And so why are we spending so much time worrying about that instead of just pulling out those things that we love and then start to work on a space plan to see what's actually going to fit? And then from that, we just say, okay, the rest of this house needs a new home. Everything here needs a new home. And how do we do that quickly? So instead of being a 2-year process, which is what a lot of people tell me, they've been 2 years sorting their houses before they're ready to move, we're talking about a 20-minute process that says, here's what I love. And within a couple of weeks, we've worked with people. We'll come and measure everything that they love. And then we actually build the pieces on the computer. We put the floor plan on a computer. We actually cut out the pieces so we can still play with them and do an overlay system that we've come up with. And they're big pieces. They're, instead of being tiny, 1/4 inch equals a foot kind of a thing. And so folks can help design it themselves so they have ownership. And we'll do a first shot at the design, but then we always say, let's sit around the table and let's play with these pieces until it's what you want. That process is so fast and it's so fun. And then we tell them, listen, it's our job to figure out how to find homes for everything that's left over. Let's just focus on pulling out the things that you love. And then as move managers, we can get you packed up, loaded onto the truck over there, and we unpack people in one day, whether it's a 400 square foot assisted living, apartment, or whether it's a 4,000 square foot, 55 plus cottage. We just put more people on it. So we get out, and that unpack is making the beds, organizing the closets, setting up the whole kitchen and the cabinets, setting up the bathrooms, hanging the shower curtains, plugging in the lamps. If we've disconnected electronics, we're reconnecting the TVs and the computers. And then we did come back to hang artwork later. So it's an amazing process. And folks say, well, I don't really have to be unpacked in a day. But sometimes you do, because if you're moving to a place that's only 1,000 square feet, you don't have room for 120 boxes to sit around that furniture until you unpack it, right? And every time you unpack a box, there's paper and bubble wrap and the cardboard. And so all of that gets removed in a day. And it's an amazing process. And for folks that have moved into senior living, whether they're moving into personal care, most of our clients are actually, making lifestyle choices and moving into beautiful large apartments. But that means by dinner time, they're going down having dinner. They're meeting new people. They come back. Their beds are ready. They get into bed. They wake up the next morning. Their coffee pot is ready for them. And then they go out, and now they are actually starting their life. So instead of spending weeks and months, isn't this amazing? Instead of spending weeks and months worrying about it and trying to figure it out, it's done. And then our team can go in and work on finding homes for everything that's left over.
So when you do that, finding places for that, do you do estate sales? Do you, do you handle that as well?
We do. So what there are companies that do estate sale. So estate sale, the traditional estate sale gets set up in the home and then people walk through and will buy things, bid on them. Some areas that's really successful and they can sell a lot. I think down in Philadelphia, we're about an hour north of Philadelphia in the Lehigh Valley.
Hmm.
It's not as successful in our area. In mainline Philadelphia, with a lot of very gorgeous homes with a lot of expensive furniture, I think that's pretty successful. We
Yeah.
found in our area, though, that a lot of times you've got 50% of the house left over, which
See.
is still a problem then, right?
Hmm.
And so we have with us on our staff a woman who's been in the liquidation business for 30 years. Her name is Heidi. She is our secret weapon. And
Wow.
so she was working on online whole home online auctions. And there's different companies around the nation that have platforms for this. We happen to use a company called Max Sold, Maxsold. It's not everywhere, but there are other companies. I was Googling to see who else is out there. Um, and the process is they will go through your home and sort the entire house into lots. And if you're an auction person and you go a lot, they'll say, set it up into $35 lots. Well, I have no idea what a $35 lot looks like. And so I would have no idea to do it. And if you're going to have 150 lots, I have no idea how to describe the stuff so that people would buy it. But Heidi does. And so she also knows that there's, I don't know, 120,000 people or something on this platform. And a lot of them are dealers. And she knows how
Wow.
to photograph the items. She knows how to tag them so that dealers can search them easily. And so she sets it all up. And then for the owner or the family that's there, sometimes it's in an estate, the owner is
Hmm.
no longer with us, and they can look through it before it goes live, all the photos and things to see, oh my goodness, you found my grandmother's ring. I've always wanted that. Let me pull that before it goes live.
Uh-huh.
And then once you approve it, all of this goes live. So at this point, no one has come into the house except for the auction team.
Wow.
So
What's the name of this company again?
it's called Max, Maxsold, Max Sold.
Max Sold. Okay.
Yeah, they're out of Toronto. I know there are a lot in the Northeast. I believe there's one in Houston, down where our friend Leslie Crothers lives. So
Yeah.
that area. But yeah. So what happens is it goes live, and people bid on it online for about a week,
Hmm.
and then they know that they have to come pick it up. And so there's no shipping, there's no packing up.
That's what I was going to ask next. The shipping and
Yeah.
packing.
Yeah.
Wow.
So we did this. I did this at myself. I've hired my company twice in the last 3 years to downsize me.
Uh-huh.
And, I kept thinking, oh, I can do this myself because I've done this for, we've done this for like 2,700 people, but it's a lot of work. And it's also harder to downsize your own stuff.
Well, it's
It's,
overwhelming. It's
yeah,
overwhelming because
yeah,
you're talking about the post-it note. You all of a sudden, I might could use that. I might.
yes,
I might. It's like my closet. I might wear that one time, and it would be worth it for me to keep to wear one time, and probably
exactly.
never do.
Exactly. So the sorting for sure was helpful for me because I got to the point where I said, I have got way too much stuff here and I'm just having this conversation between my head and my heart, which is where it is. A
Yes,
lot of people think I'm hearing my mother. My mother said, please don't ever get rid of this. It was grandma's. And so they're feeling it. And I said, well, guess what? That piece has no feelings and it doesn't talk. So this conversation that you're hearing is actually between your head and your heart.
it is.
And so what you need to do is to realize that that piece will be happy wherever it goes. And it
Wherever
actually
it's
doesn't
going.
have feelings, so it doesn't matter.
Aw.
That said, with this online auction process, it's been on for about a week. Some people say we're going to wait till the very last minute because I want to be able to get the deal when when nobody's bidding. I'm going to wait until the end. But they've set up a system where if you are bidding in the last 20 minutes, that item spins off on its own auction and it will continue to get bids until it quits. And
Wow.
so it's interesting. So we can tell if there's dealers on a specific auction. There's a lot of dealer items. A lot of the dealers will do that. They'll put a little bit of a bid in so they can follow things, but then they wait until the end, and then you can watch some of these things go off on their own, and you start to watch the numbers go up.
I'm
So,
definitely going to start looking at this. Very
yeah,
interesting.
it's a great thing. And you know what? It's interesting because what's the biggest, one of the biggest issues people have is they don't want their stuff to go in the trash, right?
Right.
So even if you do a yard sale or something, there's always stuff that's going to get trashed afterwards, maybe donated some, but not always. And it's a lot of work. This process has been proven. I wasn't sold on it, but I have to say that at the very beginning, I
Right.
kept thinking, I'm not sure this is really going to work, but we've done, I don't know, 150 of these now. And the industry says that it's the fastest way to empty a house for the least cost and the best payback. Now, knowing that we're selling used stuff, right? So we're not
Right.
always
Right.
going to make money. But what we forget is that to empty a house and donate it all or trash it isn't free. It isn't free
That's
because
what I've
even if
been
it's,
trying to do with my mother's things. I'm giving it away. The only what I can say for me is to had, I could have had a estate sale. I could have done it myself or had a yard sale. But it's hard to see someone pawing through your mother's things and go, oh, this is not worth anything, and you've got it priced a quarter, and they want to give you a nickel.
yes,
Just things
yes,
like that.
yes.
That's hard to deal with, and
It
it's
is
hard.
hard to deal with. And that's where the emotional part of all this comes in, right? Where
Right.
you're trying to do this and say, how do we do this in a way that honors our, mom's feelings, but
Yes.
also doesn't take up so much of your time that this daughter time that she's really craving right now
Mm-hmm.
isn't compromised, right?
Yes.
Because what we want to do is to make sure that at this time, and I cared for my mom, and I applaud you for caring for your mom. A lot of people don't. But right now, they need us. They don't need
Yes.
us spending 2 years digging through their stuff. They need us.
Well, I've
And
got my mother's in my storage building. That.
mm,
And I moved it to my storage building, and I've got, I'm wondering how many times will I handle this?
yeah. Well, and it's really hard once it goes into a storage unit because then you have to try to pull it out, right? And
Hmm.
so how do you do that? And it's hard to sort it in a storage unit. And by the way, that storage unit is ka-chink ka-chink every month.
Right.
It is, it's a tough process. But yeah,
Yeah.
but the online auctions have statistically sold 95% of the contents of a house in
Wow.
about a 2 week process. It's crazy. It's crazy successful. And so it's just turned out to be our best gift that we can give folks, especially if you've got a couple, especially when you have a couple. So oftentimes one of the two people are really excited about moving. This is the place they've wanted to do. They've wanted to ditch this house. They can't wait to get someplace where they've got, housekeeping and a chef and things. But you've got the other person who's still boohooing about everything that's being left behind.
Yeah, I really
And
thought I was going to have to drag my mother out, kicking and screaming.
yeah, yeah. But you know what? If they find out that the stuff isn't going into a dumpster, that's the biggest gift you can give your mom to say,
That's
listen,
true.
you know what? We're going to find a way for other people to love your stuff because they know it's not valuable at this point. And those who still think, well, I spent $600 on it, I'd really like to get 550 back. You know, I said people buy used things because they want to spend 10 cents on the dollar, if that.
Yeah.
And so it's that's probably not going to happen. You're going to get that. But second to that, they really would like their family, to love it. Your mom
Right.
would love it if you took everything home and you loved it on it. But at the same time, if you really say, look, I don't have the time, I don't have the space for it, it's lovely, then short of putting it in a dark storage unit, wouldn't it be nice? This is what we tell people. Wouldn't it be nice to have somebody who desperately needs that item and probably
Yes.
couldn't afford to buy it new, can actually take it and they will love it every single day. And as soon as they find out that there's actually someone who might love it, then most people are more willing to let it go.
Okay. What is your top tips for third phase listeners if they're preparing to move a senior loved one?
Wow, that's a good point. Um, I would say this is one of those soft items, and this is a big one. But if you don't start right, you're going to have a battle the whole time. You said you've had trouble trying to get your mom to move. So I would say first, be careful with your words and
Yes.
how you talk about this. It might be a matter of semantics, but in America, as a culture, unlike a lot of parts of the world, we have a habit here of wanting to get this done. We want to get mom out of this house because she's going to fall again, or gosh, we're going to get another phone call in the middle of the night. And so we want to get this done. And so we say things like, I'm going to put my mom in this facility near here. It's very pretty. And then you have to think about that. And she's fighting you on this. Well, first of all, who wants to be put somewhere? That word is used all the time. I'm going to put my mom here.
Yeah.
That feels so terrifying. And then a facility. I think of a facility as a factory that's, bottling Coca-Cola or something. I mean, it's not a home. So to say things like, we always like to say, we would like to help transition your loved ones into this, from one home or lifestyle to their new home or lifestyle. And we're going to help them go from a home that no longer serves them. So rather than blaming them and saying, wow, my mom can't take care of this, or her hips are bad, she can't do the stairs, and blaming it on mom, I always blame it on the house. This house does not serve her anymore. It
Right.
did at one point, but it doesn't. And there's another home that will serve her so well that she can stay independent and be honored and enjoy living again. And so our objective is to help our loved ones transition into a living situation that honors them and works better for them.
Wow.
And I think if you start with that, I think you have a better chance of having someone say, well, that makes sense,
Yes.
versus you're going to put me somewhere.
Right.
The second thing I would say to your listeners, try not to take any of this personally. We'll have daughters call us and say, wow, I have been telling my mom the same thing you just said for 2 years, and she's been fighting me this whole time, and all of a sudden you say it, and she thinks it's a great idea. So now I'm like really annoyed. But that's that third party thing, right? It's like, you can tell somebody something and they go to the doctor and the doctor says it. Oh, all of a sudden, that seemed really smart, even though you were saying the same thing.
Right.
So I would say, don't take it personally, because it's not about you. It's really all about them. And what I mean by that, Teepa Snow, who is just a master, she's an incredible woman, Teepa Snow. She teaches folks how to live well with someone with dementia, how to honor them so that they don't get agitated and fight and things like
Now,
this. And
repeat that again.
her name is Teepa Snow. And she's got a website called teepasnow.com, Teepa snow.com.
Oh, okay.
And she's an amazing woman. So here's what she says about people who have dementia. And I think it probably applies to anyone at this time of life when they're moving. She says, they're not giving you a hard time. They're having a hard time. And if you think of it that way, it's rarely about you. It's not about you. It's not about mom doesn't listen to me, or, she doesn't like my ideas. She's giving you a hard time because she's having a hard time with this whole thing. So if we think about it, moving at any time can be scary, right? I said at the beginning that psychologists tell us of the 10 worst things that happen. Number 2 is moving. That's at any age. That said, moving to a senior living community, we've learned this over time. If you've lived in that community all your life and now you're going to the senior living community, even if it's a gorgeous high-end community, you may be worried about, this is kind of like middle school. I'm going to go back, and there's going to be a big dining room now, a nicer dining room than the cafeteria. But when I went to the cafeteria in middle school, the mean girls were there.
Yeah.
And guess what? Sometimes the mean girls are still there. And
They
you may
are.
be having anxiety like that. On the flip side, it may be that you've moved, you've relocated because your daughter says, look, you're too far away. Come move to this beautiful community. We'll be nearby. But now you're walking into a room, you know nobody. And you're hoping someone's going to invite you to dinner, or somebody else is going to want to play bridge or something. And you're
Right.
at the time of your life when, you're getting tired. You've worked hard all this time, and now you have to start over and make new friends and stuff, and it takes effort. And
Yes.
so I think if we think about this, when we're talking about this process, it lets us come from a position of love and understanding that says, how do we make this as easy as possible? That's where I think having move managers can be helpers, because we're not saying, Mom, you can't keep all of that, and then she's now annoyed at you. We'll have move managers who will say, hey, Shirley, now you wanted to take one of these, but we already have three. I don't think so. Yep, we've already got three. So which one would you like? And then we've got processes that make it easy. And then I tell the daughters or the sons, go be the daughter or the son. Let folks handle the stuff that's the touchy items. And I would say when that move is done on that day, that move day, you go into the dining room with them and you go to dinner with them at their new community so they can parade in, not by themselves. They can parade in with family. So everybody looks up and goes, oh, that woman is new. And wow, what a nice family she has. Because
Yes.
that already sets up an expectation of what they think of her, right?
Right. I
And
agree.
so it's a gift that you give your mom to be able to say, look, we're going to do this together and we're going to watch this happen. And we'll jump in every once in a while when we want to contribute or we want to say, I want to adjust something. But other than that, we together are going to watch this process, mother and daughter together. And I
Right.
found that was really helpful.
Very good. I know you offer courses and that you are a speaker. How do people find you, Jill?
Well, I've got a website called Jill D. Kearney. Jill D is in David. Jill D. Kearney, and Kearney is Kearney. JillDKearney.com. That's my speaker site. I also am on my company website, which is specialtymovesbydesign.com.
Mm-hmm.
On that site, both sites have the listing of where I'm speaking and what the topics are. And the topics have expanded over time. When I told you that it became really clear that I could teach people how to downsize and sort. But
Uh-huh.
some people were coming back 3 and 4 times, and I said, listen, I'm not saying anything different. And they would start to share with me, I'm just sad, or I'm just angsty about this process and I can't seem to get past it. And so that's when I said, okay, this is not just a task discussion. This is a
Mm-hmm.
heart discussion. And so what I've started doing now is I've got a talk that starts with how to choose your next home in retirement. There's a lot of choices we have. You could just get a smaller house or just get a regular apartment, but is that going to last for good? I don't know. Maybe you go to a senior living community with multiple levels of care. Maybe that's not affordable. Maybe you want to RV for a while, but maybe that's not going to work for 20 years. So RV for the next 5 or 10 years, and then have your plan B. Where do you want to be? But so it talks about that. Then we talk about the process of downsizing and decluttering, and that's where I use the Post-its. Don't spend 2 years. Go through your house, put the Post-its on, and then write down all those pieces. Your family will be shocked that that's exactly what you're taking. And then you can say, listen, everything else is fair game. And it's amazing if you've got stickers on a few things, they might actually take a few things if they don't think you're going to make them take the whole house. So yeah,
I like the
so
post-it note idea. I love that. I love
it's
it.
fun, and you know what? And then we talk about the whole thing. It gets into a little bit on staging for selling your house. You still
Mhm.
have to make sure your house looks decent if you want top dollar.
Right.
So we talk about that. We talk about the joyful move process and what that looks like in a day. I talk about aging in place, how to age in place safely. That may be after a move, but regardless, it talks about things like lighting. Talks about things like balance assists like grab bars and things like that. There's a whole lot of things. It talks about how we overcome steps. And then the last thing is dreaming, because I don't think enough of us dream. And this was something, if you've got a mother, daughter, or a son and a parent, and if you say, listen, I need to start dreaming about what I want my retirement time to look like, even if you're in your 40s or 50s, and then say, what do you want yours? What would you dream about? And start sharing that. And you might be surprised that the dream they have is different from what you thought it was. But it gives you then an insight into what it is that they want. And then I encourage them to say, look, if this is possible, this is really what you want to do, we could go start shopping a little bit, and if it's you don't have the right relationship with your mom to do it with you, then say, how about if I call Betty, your best friend, my mom's best friend was Betty, and see if Betty wants to go with you and see if you guys can go look together. And then this dreaming the dream, though, helps you then get a big enough why to deal with all the stuff, which is what's usually in the way of making a good move.
Yes, yes, I agree. Oh, Jill, it's been wonderful. I may have to bring you back. You have so many topics we could discuss, but this is fabulous, and I
Oh,
so
thank you so much.
appreciate you joining me today.
Well,
So,
I've enjoyed
everyone,
it, and I'll make sure next time that now I know how to get on, and I'll make sure my lighting is a little bit better. But other than that, it was a pleasure to be with you. And this is my life work now. This is this education process and being able to share this. This knowledge. It's been 16 years we've been doing this, so we've made mistakes, but we've figured out, great processes. And most of us don't become experts until we have to deal with it, and that's a really hard time, especially if a move is coming quickly because there's a health issue.
mhm.
That's a really bad time to try to become an expert. And so I will be looking for more opportunities to take my talks and maybe even turn them into courses online,
Oh, that'd be
or
great.
something like that. Yeah.
Mhm. Well, let us know. Keep us posted on things you've got going, and because this is the phase. I mean, I'm dealing with it. I'm sandwiched in taking care of my mother and grandchildren, and in
Mhm.
a full time career. So
Yeah.
it's difficult to say the least. So anything you could share with us, we would appreciate it greatly. So be
Oh,
sure and join my Facebook group. It's a free Facebook group called The Third Phase. And if we have anyone there with questions and things, you can answer some of those if you'd like.
all
So we
right.
would love for you to be a member of that. And it's the third phase, the number 3 phase. So join that, and I send out newsletters after each show, and then this will go to YouTube as well.
Wonderful. Well, I am a member, so I will be following along going forward. And if people do have questions, I'd be happy to follow up and answer them there.
Okay, Jill, thank you so much, and you have a wonderful 4th of July.
You too. Thanks so
Okay.
much.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.